back Gotham!
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. This will be my full Penguin Episode 6 video. There are a whole bunch of Easter eggs, Batman references, so we'll break it all down. Penguin is showing you just how good his talk no jutsu is, winning over all the other gangs in Gotham. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the episodes. The episode title was The Gold Summit, a reference to Penguin's meeting of all the heads of the gangs in town, besides the Maronis and the Gigantes Sophia's men. He's trying to bring them together as part of his Bliss operation, taking back Gotham, as he says. All bonded over their love of money. Like, really, this is just about money. They all just want to make more money. His whole speech is great. It's basically like a Scarface call to action that he's giving to all them. The city is yours. The world is yours. Let's all take it. When really he's been ready to backstab, betray any deal that he's made with anyone. Like, he talks about having a code. He does have a code, but his code is me above all others. All of his actions during the Batman movie and now during this series have shown you that he just values himself over anything else that he does, any deal that he makes with anyone about anything at all. So in any given situation, the one thing you can count on is that he will always betray someone if it's in his best interests. So the fact that he made this deal means nothing for right now. The episode starts with Penguin giving the same type of pep talk to his crew about how the power in Gotham is shifting. It's meant to parallel his speech at the end of the episode to the other heads of the gangs. How they're basically taking back the power of Gotham from the Falcones that are now the Gigantes and the Maronis, who used to be like the second most powerful crime family in Gotham to the Falcones. He implies that the Maronis and the Gigantes are in a very weak position right now. They kind of are, but you have to remember that he isn't up on all the current information, so he's really underestimating Sophia, and I think that's going to wind up biting him in the butt, kind of like it happens at the end of the episode when Sophia literally finds his mother is still alive in Crown Point. Like, oh, his mother is here, and she is alive. Don't you wonder how she's going to use that to torture him in next week's episode? A lot of big surprises coming for Penguin next week. Victor on the motorcycle coming down the tunnel feels very Batman Bruce Wayne coded from the Batman movie. They explained that he uses a motorcycle to get around the city during the day and sometimes at night when he wants to keep a lower profile. Like, the Batmobile attracts way too much attention sometimes unless he's in a bigger fight and he wants to attract that kind of attention or that kind of fear. Penguin reveals how he's resurrected the Bliss operation with the remaining 2 buckets that he had after last week, using the humid underground environment in the tunnels to grow more. Most of us predicted this, like he kind of called this out last week, growing more from the existing supply because the tunnels have the perfect environment for it, and it seems like it's going really well for him. Would be a real shame if it all came crashing down on him all of a sudden. Make all the Breaking Bad cooking memes. The red reminds me of the blue crystal. What are they cooking? This whole intro to the episode is Penguin's Scarface moment, like the big montage where you see him winning, earning all this money, taking over this empire. But you remember what happened in the Scarface movie. Right after that montage, they start to show his downfall. So the same thing is basically happening to Penguin in this episode. They show that Victor is carrying a gun on him all the time now to foreshadow him eventually using it to kill Squid. Victor's whole arc on the show has been him going darker and darker. We'll see if he turns into a bigger Batman villain from the comics eventually, or if he winds up getting himself killed off and is more of like a tragic collateral damage situation as Penguin's rise to power. Anytime you see Penguin getting really close with him, like he thinks of him as a younger brother, like a younger version of Penguin. You're just like me, kid. You grew up in the same place I grew up in. What if something really tragic winds up happening to Victor? They've already been foreshadowing that something really terrible is going to happen to his mother eventually, too. Don't worry, we'll get to that because there's a very specific part of the episode that I think tells you all you need to know about what's going to happen to his mother eventually. Also note, according to Penguin, if anyone asks, you got all this cash, this giant bag of cash from construction. They're doing construction. We're all in construction. The whole idea here is that if a cop finds them under the tunnels, they're trying to explain why they have so much heavy machinery down here. Like, oh, we're doing construction. That's why we need all these big machines. Victor returns from another crew in Gotham, selling the Bliss for them. They're distributing it all over Gotham, so they're working with many different gangs, and eventually it's going to become a problem, which Penguin tries to solve at the end of the episode. The idea that all the different gangs in Gotham hate each other's guts, and, at least right now at the beginning of the episode, they're still afraid of the Falcones, who are now the Gigantes and the Maronis. He mentions all the other rival gangs that we wind up seeing at the end of the episode, like the Low Boys, they're from Batman's No Land. Most of these are all from different Batman comics. Some of the different gangs were also featured during the Gotham TV series too. Penguin is just like the HBO version of the Gotham series, just like bigger, better looking. Currently, he's claiming that the key to international distribution is Feng Zhao and the Triads because they have the international contacts necessary to distribute the Bliss around the world, and that's where the real money comes in. Right now, they're mostly just local to Gotham City. They set up the whole power storyline with the utilities grid and the idea that Crown Point has not been getting any power since the Riddler attacked because most of the city's attention on all their resources have been diverted to the richer neighborhoods, which becomes a big arc later in the episode too. This is meant to remind you that the Riddler's attack during the Batman movie mostly devastated the poorest areas of Gotham. None of the rich people that he was trying to go after were affected by the actual flooding, so it's meant to be kind of ironic, like you did the opposite of what you were trying to do. So at least in that way, Riddler is kind of an idiot, even though he's positioned as being this very smart person during the Batman movie. Penguin also explains one of his big secrets here to rising to power is by helping the people in Crown Point, putting them on his crew, putting a bunch of money in their pockets, which makes them way more loyal to him, which will be important in the future. That was this big talk with Victor, like, you know why they're loyal? Because we pay them really, really well. So at least in this way, Penguin thinks of himself as a very Robin Hood type of figure, like stealing from the rich and giving to the poor, because he kind of does that later in the episode with the power. The whole speech about being the guy in the neighborhood who takes care of people is his reference to the grand scheme to become just like Rex Calabrese, the mobster that everyone respected when he was a child. His mother also references Rex Calabrese at the end of the episode too. When he says they're going to tell stories about us one day, our names will live forever, that's also a bit of a wink in real life at the Batman comics, like the Batman mythos, the Batman movies, because they will literally tell stories about Penguin and Batman, the other Batman characters, till the heat death of the universe. During your lifetime, you've probably already seen them recast the Batman, reboot the Batman franchise a couple times. In the next 50, 60 years, they're going to do that at least 6 or 7 more times. Then we go to Sophia's house. It gets real spicy, showing her post-sex with Dr. Rush, who's tied up in a chair. This is probably part of her kink now, living out a power fantasy, dominatrix style, where she gets off on hurting him, and he's gone all masochistic, like he enjoys being hurt by her. This is meant to be caused by her time in Arkham, like it's a big reversal. She used to be the person who was preyed upon. She was probably sexually abused while she was in there too. Now she gets off by being the person to do that to other people. This is also why at the end of the episode she asks for the doctor's help in developing a new torture method for Penguin, all because she wants to inflict the maximum amount of pain on him without killing him. And because he was one of the doctors at Arkham for a long time, he'd know exactly how to do that. So talk about getting freaky here, like it's getting real spicy with the two of them. And if it wasn't clear, I think they were pretty obvious with her performance during these scenes. She does not really care about him that much. She's just using him as a distraction, and she knows that he's obsessed with her, so she's just taking advantage of that. She doesn't actually have any feelings for him or anything like that. But he is simping her something fierce. She goes to the kitchen. They have all these great cooking scenes with Salvatore Maroni. He opens a bottle of old wine, which they share a joke about Carmine being dead because they both hated him for different reasons, but they both really, really hated him. He's apparently been hiding out at her mansion since he escaped from Blackgate. He's still on the police are still after him, so he needs to stay under the radar. They confirm what Victor said. Sophia's people were watching him and lost him when he returned to the tunnels. We get a little more of Maroni's storyline too. He just explains why he's cooking these dishes that he learned from his wife Nadia. Basically, when he married her, he took on all of her culture because he loved her so much. We literally just saw Penguin burning her alive with his son, which he also references. Really seemed like he enjoyed that too. Like the coldest thing the Penguin has ever done. We will see if he tops that before the end of the series, because that's pretty hardcore. The way that Maroni looks at her when she's eating the dish that his son liked, it's almost like he thinks of her kind of like a father, like she reminds him of his dead son a little bit. We get a lot of good scenes of the two of them just working together, working through their problems. We'll probably get a little bit more of this in the last 2 episodes because there's only 2 episodes left in the series. Really hoping most of those characters survive to whatever's coming next, like the Batman 2. I don't think there's going to be a season 2 of the Penguin, so maybe some of those characters will come back during the Batman 2. But really, if there are characters that come back, probably only going to be the Penguin and Sophia. Back at Penguin's apartment, he remembers his childhood at Polly's Diner with his brothers. His mother starts to have an episode when she starts going on about her music and the terrible situation with the power and the food. Just everything becomes a lot for her to deal with. It's meant to set up the end of the episode when the power does come back on and she has like that brief flash of happiness right before the other shoe drops and Sophia shows up to capture her. The basic idea on this series, on a lot of TV series like this or any movies, is that anytime anything good ever happens to a character or anyone achieves any sort of victory, right after they are swiftly handed their asses. Nothing good comes without something terrible happening to them right after. Just like The Sopranos or Game of Thrones, the series in general cribs a lot from tropes and characters on The Sopranos, like Penguin's mother is meant to be a lot like Tony Soprano's abusive mother. Very complicated relationship between those two pairs. When she starts to have her dementia episode, she starts mentioning Rex Calabrese, fixing the power. I think she's confusing Penguin for his father too. He gets mad at Victor for indulging this and for mentioning his brother, like keep my brother's name out of your mouth, because it's so personal for him. I'm sure in the next couple episodes, we will get more information about how his brothers actually died. It was probably something really hardcore. My early theory is that Penguin had something to do with them dying and it was an accident and he's just been carrying that guilt with him this whole time and that's why he doesn't want to talk about it. Then he learns about Sophia and Sal Maroni going around and warning the other gangs to not do business with him by cutting the fingers off a couple of their men. Now the severed fingers are meant to be a direct callback to Penguin cutting the finger off of Alberto's hand. Sophia wanted him to see these on the news and instantly realized what it meant. There's a big Batman comic book reference you probably detected during this scene too. Byrne Street on the News is a reference to DC comic book artist John Byrne, who did a lot of Batman back in the day. His new plan to circumvent Sophia is to give the Bliss away so that the other gangs will get so pissed that they're not earning money on it that they'll make a deal with him. Also too, to get people around the city addicted to it so they won't care what happens to them just because they want it so badly. The first taste is free, but then you gotta pay for it. It's an oldie but a goodie trick. Victor winds up running into Squid outside the tunnels, who presses him for information on the Penguin's operation. This is all to set up him eventually having to kill him later in the episode, further descending into darkness. Like this is all about the perversion of his character, like he's slowly and slowly getting darker and darker. Sophia and Maroni break into Penguin's apartment with another big Batman reference. Notice it's right next to Burgess Jewelry Shop. That's meant to be a reference to the Burgess Meredith version of Penguin on the Adam West Batman series. Notice she yoinks his cigar cutter, reminding her of Alberto's missing finger. She might wind up using this to try and cut off Penguin's fingers. They set up the idea that they're looking for someone close to Penguin they can use against him, which they eventually wind up finding in Eve Carlo. We go back to Penguin's mother for a really important scene foreshadowing the last two episodes, and basically what's going to wind up happening to her. She finds her collapsed in the tub in the cold water for who knows how long. It's a very common situation with older people that suffer from cognitive problems like she has. She point blank asks him to help her die eventually once she's too far gone. Like, please let me go out with dignity, kill me if it comes to that. Which he eventually agrees to do. I think this will be like the last straw for him, like he will be forced to kill her, and that'll wind up driving him to become the comic book version of the Penguin. If he seemed vicious now, just wait till what he's going to be like after he kills his mother, like the last woman in his life that he loves. Normally, he would have sent her to a medical facility a long time ago designed to help her 24/7 with any of her medical issues, anything that she needed. But the idea is that he's been too afraid to do that because all his enemies would learn about her and use her against him or try to hurt her. They remind you that she has Carmine's necklace that Alberto gave him, and that'll probably be important in next week's episode. Sophia is there in their apartment. She'll probably recognize the necklace. Sophia runs into Roxy from the Triads Club, agrees to sell Eve Carlo, which we find was part of Eve Carlo's plan to earn a quick buck and to win some clemency for her other girlfriends here that were working for her. That was why Eve Carlo was waiting for Sophia when she showed up. Like, I told Roxy to sell me out so we could all earn a quick buck. She was actually expecting Sophia to kill her this whole time, which she doesn't by the end of the episode. When they point out all of her different outfits, the wigs that she uses for all of her cam shows, I think that's also meant to be a sly reference to the Basil Carlo version of Clayface that her character seems like she's based on, who was not a metahuman, used practical techniques for changing his appearance, as opposed to the modern version of Clayface. They both clown on the Penguin a lot for being kind of basic, like he's really easy to please, we know exactly what it is he wants. Sophia clocks that Eve is trying to misdirect her with the same kind of talk that she uses on her clients and on Penguin, and Sophia herself to use that with other men in the past. Sophia then gets her to betray Penguin when she informs her about all of her dead friends that Penguin never told her the truth about. Oh, your friends? They were killed by my father, who Penguin protected. He knew what happened this whole time and never told you the truth. Some of the women that Carmine killed were personal friends of Eve's. So the two of them really do bond over the fact that Penguin was lying to both of them and caused Sophia to rot inside Arkham. Like, we have both been done wrong, been done dirty by the Penguin. She tells Sophia about Crown Point, setting up the end of the episode when Sophia shows up while his mother is dancing there with the power on. Eve tells Sophia that she deserves her revenge against Penguin. Meant to feel very Kill Bill coded, like that woman deserves her revenge and we deserve to die. Victor comes back to Penguin right after killing Squid, and notice how he detects instantly what happened. He sees it on Victor's face, like, oh, don't worry, kid, this will get easier. Because remember, he thinks of Victor as like a young version of himself, and Penguin had to do something like this when he was younger too. Like, it'll get easier over time. You will continue to have to do stuff like this. He asks him to take care of his mother tonight because he doesn't want her to have an accident like the last time they left her alone for the night and she got stuck in the tub. Also setting up the idea that Victor will now be captured by Sophia. Then we get Penguin's big summit with the other gangs, including the Triads, calling it the Gold Summit, giving the episode its name. Basically all the gangs in Gotham except for the Maronis and Sophia's men, because Penguin's trying to turn them against the Maronis and the Gigantes. His brand new master plan is to unite all these rival gangs together to take over Gotham. But like I said, there is no deal that Penguin has made that he has not then broken soon after. So just because they made this deal tonight doesn't mean that at some point half of them won't kill the other half. But as much as they clown on him and he clowns on himself, his talk no jutsu is successful and they agree to bond together. So remember, only 2 episodes left. We will see how they end things heading into the Batman 2 movie. This whole series was pitched by Matt Reeves as Penguin's Scarface moment, his rise to power. So I think, at least, regardless of who dies by the finale, Penguin will be way more powerful by the end. But what is it going to cost him? Probably Victor and probably his mother. R.I.P. early to them. Early theory, both of them will wind up dying. But I think the even more tragic thing will be the fact that he's probably going to be forced to kill his mother. Then back at their apartment, Victor tries to clean Squid's blood off of his new shoes as Councilman Handy makes good on Penguin's threat from earlier in the episode when he told him to get the power back on in Crown Point, or else. That'll probably be important in future episodes too, the idea that Councilman Handy is now in Penguin's pocket. But I love the way they play the energy of this scene from start to finish. So it starts with Penguin's mother being super happy, like a brief moment of shining happiness. Victor uses the opportunity to talk up Penguin, and she's proud of Penguin after she spent most of the series berating him as being a terrible failure. Just as Sophia is revealed watching them from the distance in the apartment and about to capture them. So like I said, anytime anything good seemingly happens to any of the characters, boom, right after that, the other shoe drops and something really terrible winds up happening. So anytime anything good seemingly happens or anyone gets happy about anything, be wary that something terrible is about to happen. You probably remember watching my Game of Thrones videos or my House of the Dragon videos. You know the drill when it comes to stuff like that. Like, be worried anytime anything good seemingly happens. But it was a great episode. There were a whole bunch of Easter eggs and references. If you spotted any that I didn't talk about in this video, write them below in the comments. And my full episode 7 video will post next week after they release it. Everyone click here for that brand new Deadpool holiday special announcement, and click here for all my other Penguin episodes. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.